Welcome to the One Player Podcast, the show on solitaire board gaming. I'm your host, Julius, and this is episode 378.
Cruising on down Main Street. You're relaxed and feeling good. Next thing that you know, you're seeing wahoo! An octopus in the neighborhood?
Oh, so nostalgic. So nostalgic, Albert. So nostalgic.
Hey, Julius. So today we're talking about a school bus, aren't we?
The school bus
That's
the
exciting.
school bus game?
Yeah, the school bus game.
Yes, that is exactly what we're talking about.
Every time I've seen this game box at the game store, I said, hey, it's a game about a school bus because it's bright and yellow and looks like it has a steering wheel or something on the cover.
We are actually talking about Endeavor Deep Sea, and I believe that the box you're referring to is supposed to be referential to a type of submarine of some sort.
Maybe, or a school bus.
I
It's
don't
hard
think
to
it's a
say.
school bus.
It's such a close up you can't tell. It could be the magic school bus right there. We don't know. We just don't know. So, we hadn't talked about it at all recently, and I'd completely forgotten. By the time people hear this, it's the very end of Solitaire Gaming Month. Because this won't go live. I don't know when it'll go live, but it's the 5th of May right now, folks. Just so you know, Cinco de Mayo. This will probably be going live. Let me see. Hang on, where's my
Ages from now.
calendar? Yeah, pretty much. Why can I? Here we go. So I think the 24th. So yes, it'll be like a week left of Solitaire Gaming Month. Very exciting. It's funny. It's my wife's favorite holiday because the holiday started because of her. It's her holiday actually. Because I started it on the One Player Guild because my wife is so busy this month that I just play a lot of solitaire games. And that actually ended up becoming the solitaire games on your table geek list. So yes, she's got a month for herself. She tells people at work about it. I think it's hilarious.
Well, let's hop into Endeavor Deep Sea, Albert.
Let's do it. Okay.
Or perhaps we should dive in.
Let's dive in. That's even better. Yep.
So, Endeavor Deep Sea is I couldn't even say cooperative. It's either cooperative or competitive, depending on how you want to play. But it is a game where you
Uh-huh.
are building and boarding submarines to explore tiles in the depths of the ocean and score points for doing so.
Okay.
So that is about the game in a nutshell.
That's cool. And it's cooperative or competitive. That's neat. Okay.
It could be, yes.
It could be. Gotcha.
So let us talk as we always do by starting off with the components.
And this has a lot of them, doesn't it?
I would put this in the category of a table hog. Perhaps less of a table hog at the beginning of the game, but a table hog as you get going. One of the main reasons is there are a large number of ocean boards set on 5 different levels, so like the top, bottom, middle, deep, and super deep ocean boards. And when you start the game, they're all nicely stacked. And maybe you have a couple that are out for your landing zones, but over the course of the game, you're going to be exploring more of the ocean. And as you do, every time you explore the ocean, you put another ocean board, which builds out your game. So your game board, for essential purposes, is different every single time based on the light of what those ocean boards are, where it is that they're putting, which ones it is that you reveal. Especially in solo, they can be very different because in solo, you're going to be putting out a lot less of them each game. So that can make for a very different game. But if you're playing a full 5-player game or even a 4-player game, it's going to take up a fair amount of table space with all of those ocean boards that are coming out.
And how big is each board? Is it like 8.5 by 11-ish or less?
No, not that bad. Like 4 by 6-ish.
Okay. Still, that's pretty big. Yeah, and the ocean could be like 5 deep normally, it says. Right? Up to
Five deep, and it's normally like 5 across.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah, so it can get quite table hog-eaty. So
Okay.
that's the stuff that goes on the board. There's a couple other things that'll go on each of those ocean boards. One of the main ones that's going to go on the ocean boards are going to be a set of tokens called dive tokens. And essentially, they're small chipboard circles, and they're going to go in places where it's indicated on each board, where you can take a dive action to pull one of them and then get the benefit of it. Another type of thing that's out on the various boards are these journals. There's these cards that have specific icons on them. And when you take a journaling action, essentially you're writing paper about whatever it is that you've discovered in the sea, different boards will give you access to different types of journals. So you'll pick one of those journals from the display when you take them, and it'll give you some benefits. So those journal cards are something that's available on the boards.
Can that be on any of the boards, or only like the example that
Some of
is
the
in the rules?
boards.
Okay,
Yeah, some of the boards. It's any of the boards that have a journaling icon.
got it. And that could be at any depth.
It that can be at any depth. Usually the deeper ones have cooler things going on, but
Ah,
you can find journaling anywhere along the way. So that is, I'm trying to list the things that are open and sort of in the center before I get into what each player has. So another thing that's in the center are going to be the scenario sheets. So the scenario sheets, there's 10 scenarios, so 5 double-sided sheets, and those will list what your original setup is and what your general goal for the scenario is. The first two are really basic. As they
mm-hmm.
build up, they get more and more complicated, and they list for you a set of 3 goals that are sort of related to what it is that the game wants you to do, with increasing complexity for that. They also list a bunch of star spaces. Each player has a bunch of star markers, or I think the game calls them impact markers. I call them star markers because they have big old stars on them. But these are small tokens that when you do a specific thing that gives you stars, you get to put it on the starboard, and those will either be worth immediate. Didn't realize you put it on the starboard because it's a boat. Anyway,
Oh,
so you'll put the star markers on the starboard, and when you put it there, it'll generally give you an immediate benefit, or it'll give you points at the end of the game, and you'll build out because you can put it next to one of the previous star markers and build out your board. So what you have will be available based on what it is that you're connected to.
okay.
So that is,
Question about those missions. You said they're double sided. Is it two different missions on each side, or is it like
it's two different, it's a scenario on each side. So there's 5
okay?
sheets, which is 10 scenarios.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't clear in the rules at all from when I read that, so I was wondering about that. Hmm.
Yeah. So those are the things that basically go on the center of that. That's the stuff everyone interacts with. Each player will have with them a player board. The player board's going to have 4 tracks on it, and the tracks have different names. So I'm going to call them by that color because there's orange, green, yellow, and blue. And each player has markers that go across the orange, green, yellow, and blue. So the markers will help you level up your different stats. You also have a research track, and various different actions will give you research, and various different actions, like journaling, will spend research. You'll also have a staging area. There's small discs that you'll need to use. They're essentially like activation discs that you'll need to put them on different things to activate those abilities. So you'll have a pile of discs that are in your staging area, and you'll have a pile of them in your supply in a little box to hold on to those for supply.
You said they're small. Are they like painfully small, or are they
They're not
just
painfully small. They're like a half an inch or so, half-inch circles, and
okay?
they're thicker
Okay.
wooden discs. So they're very easy to manipulate. I don't have any issues with those.
Okay.
So you have and I have the deluxe version. I'm aware that there's
I
the
was asking.
the less. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry, but so that just means that for my track markers to track those 4 different tracks in the DNA track, so it's individual like wooden shaped pieces as opposed to just cubes. So, but cubes work just well. I just like the ones that are slightly nicer. But there's not too many differences between the two, other than some of the promos, the insert. So that is what it is. So everyone has their board with those different tracks. I mentioned those activation discs. Those activation discs will go to activate things on the ocean boards, but also you will have specialists. Everyone starts with 1 specialist, a team leader, and you'll recruit more over the course of the game. When you're taking actions, you'll put one of those activation discs on an activation circle on a specialist, and that'll let you take one of the various different actions in the game. In addition, every player has a submarine. Actually, they have a set of 3, but you only get to start with 1. Everyone has a submarine. In the basic one, they're all the same shape. Mine, they're all different shapes with printing on them, so they're pretty. So they're all each different ones, and you'll move around. The submarines essentially show where it is on the ocean board that you're able to interact with. So you can interact with a space where you have at least one of your ships. unless something lets you break that rule. So I think that just about covers all the things.
So okay, so there's so many different components and 10 scenarios. It sounds like this game's gonna have a ton of variability when you play. That sounds exciting.
It does tend to have a fair amount of variability. Um, yeah, I think that most of that's really I think to the scenarios and the ocean boards, but yes, there's definitely a ton of variability.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, before we get into that too much, how about the rules then? What do you
Um,
think? Look through them. They look nice. I
I think I think the rules do look nice. I think the only thing that is perhaps a little confusing is the way. I really will get back into that gameplay. Yeah, the rules are just fine. That's really what it is. Is the rules are just fine. I just think that some of the gameplay decisions are interesting.
is the rulebook the same size as the box? Is a 12 by 12 game, or are they small?
The rulebook's the same size as the box. It's a big
Okay,
rulebook,
because I was surprised to see that these components goes. It's like page 2 through 4 or something like that. 2 through 5. Oh, 2 to 3. Just 2 and 3. It just looks like a lot of information for the components. A lot of detail. It shows them very clearly with big pictures, and I like that about
which
it.
is not a problem.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the rules are good. The rules fully explain everything. Yes, the rules are just fine.
Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, theme. Does the theme work for you?
The theme definitely works. It is ocean exploration, and everything about it is very much ocean exploration. You have submarines that are doing things. You have specialists that are tied to what it is. Yes,
Hmm.
the whole thing definitely shouts exploration.
And it sounds like they're not just doing things; they're moving around in the ocean and everything, going up
Well, the
and down. And
specialists are all hanging around your boats.
oh, but I
The
mean
only
the
thing that
submarine.
perhaps is less than thematic is the fact that a specialist can like teleport from submarine to
Yeah,
submarine somehow. But yeah, whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
They, you know,
There are hand wavy things we can say about that.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Perhaps the only thing that is, and I mentioned this briefly, but perhaps the only thing that is an issue with theme is the different tracks and icons here. I mentioned starboard, so starboard it's just like it's a random set of bonuses that you get, and essentially it's being a star, it's getting a cool thing. The four tracks, orange, green, yellow, blue. What? It's technically reputation, inspiration, coordination, and ingenuity. And those are words with an icon associated with it. Like the orange track is is like a talkie bubble because we'll get to this more. The orange track is what lets you recruit team members better. So kind of maybe it's a little bit there. The green
Okay.
one lets you get extra discs around. So kind of maybe it's a little bit there. But those are not they're not highly tied to theme. It's just very fortunate that there is a great reference for what those do right on the
Mm,
board. Because if you didn't know what they did right on the board, the icons would not make any difference to you. You just have to learn what the orange, green, yellow, and blue tracks do.
yep. Okay. Yeah. The term. That seems like they could have picked the term after they figured out that the tracks are there.
I think that's
It,
what they did.
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Designed by mechanics first.
Which is fine. The mechanics are really
Oh yeah,
good,
yeah.
and I'm really excited to start talking about the gameplay as soon as you let me.
Okay, go ahead.
All right,
Um,
let's dive deep into these deep mechanics.
okay.
All right. So, in terms of mechanics, one of the interesting parts is that this is, I hesitated in opening to call this action selection because there's a whole like setup, almost like an upkeep type phase split into three, but the upkeep phase is very in depth before you get to start activating your workers and selecting actions amongst them.
Oh,
You have those different specialists. Each round at the start of it, you're going to be selecting one more specialist. Over the course of the game, which there's 6 rounds, you will select 6 specialists. That's it. The very first round, you are limited to the level 1 specialist, and there's up to level 5 specialists. The level 5 specialists are stupendous. The level 1 specialists need training.
Okay.
So you're going to hear this a bunch. You want to level up the orange track to get better access to the specialists. But when you're at that level 1, you now have to make a decision: which specialist do I want to get, which determines which actions you'll have available to you. The very first round, you'll have access to your team leader specialist that can take all the different actions, and then whichever other person you recruit. So whichever person you recruit starts to develop which strategy it is that you're going to do. So each time you have to select that specialist, even though it's sort of like an upkeep, it's a heavyish decision.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not heavy, it's a weighty decision to decide who it is that you're selecting. Next, everyone is going to get some discs. You'll get action discs from two ways. You'll either generate more from your green, or you'll remove them from your people with the yellow. People with an activation disc on them can't be reactivated, so you need to remove them. But if you don't have enough action discs, because many of your actions require extra discs to place on the board, so if you don't have enough action discs, you won't be able to select them anyway. So just you'll obviously want to increase your green track to be able to make as many action discs as you want, and you'll want to increase your yellow tracks so that you can clear off as many people and reuse their activation discs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of those are highly valuable for being able to use your actions efficiently. Then there's the blue track. So that's the upkeep phases. Get another specialist, create some activation discs, and then remove activation discs from your people and regain them. The last track, the blue track, is the one that's related to your boats, your submarines. It's split into 5 levels, as are all of them, and each level determines A, how fast your boats can move, and B, how deep your boats can go. I keep saying boats, but I mean submarines. How deep your submarines can go, because they start only being able to go to level 1, even though you generally have started even with level 2 on the board. You need to upgrade your technology, your blue track, which is not even called technology, it's called ingenuity, but you need to upgrade your blue track to be able to access the deeper level of submarines, as well as put more submarines on the board. So it's on an upkeep, but that's the purpose of that board. Once everyone has done all of that upkeep stuff, collect a new specialist, get more discs, and clear some discs, now we're all going to take turns with the action selection portion of the game. Everyone will select one action to do, where you take a disc, put it on a dude, and if that requires you to do some other actions like put other discs other places, move around, do stuff, you get to do that stuff. In general, there's 5 basic actions that you can take when you're doing that. The first action is traveling. You move your sub from one place to another place. Every spot has an entry bonus, so when you move to a spot, it gives you some bonus just for coming there.
Huh.
The next thing you can do is sonar. This one is one of those things that requires an extra disc. When you do sonar, you put a disc on a sonar space on a board that you're at. So theoretically, you can exhaust a board and not be able to do any more sonars. But when you do a sonar, you get to put out a new ocean board. The spot will show you which ocean boards it is that you get to put out. But you'll pick 2 from amongst the available ocean boards that you're taking, pick one of them and put it in a viable spot on the board. Similar to the entry bonuses, every board also has a sonar bonus that when you explore it, you also get that bonus. It's usually something like getting discs or getting research or upgrading a track, things like that. But that puts it out and gives you more spaces to go explore. The next action you can take is you can dive. I mentioned this one very briefly when we're talking about those dive tokens. When you dive, it doesn't take any more than just the one activation disc, but you'll take one of those dive tokens. You have a spot that you can hold one. So if you end up with 2, you use one and then you can just keep the other one until you decide to use it at any point in time later. But they'll give you an extra, generally, they'll give you some research with some extra bonus, whether it's level up a track or take an extra action or what have you. The next type of action is the journaling action. I mentioned this also before when we were talking about the journal cards. And again, there's a limit to these spaces that go out. Because it requires a second disc, you first activate a new person, but you also put a disc on the journal spaces on the ocean board. And when you put a disc on the journal ocean board spaces, it will then it allows you to grab one of those journal cards. These are very cool. Here's the reason why I think the journals are very cool. The journals, a lot of them have, well, many of them have just points. Many of them have a bonus that you yourself get, but many of them also have a bonus that goes to all players. So, for example, if I'm double
Oh,
leveling up my blue track, it's likely going to give everyone else one level up to that blue track. When you're playing when you're playing competitive style, uh, you have it becomes an extra, almost a cost, where I'm getting a whole bunch of
mm-hmm.
bonus and I want to make sure I'm not doing that. Where when you're playing cooperative, it becomes, well, I want to make sure everyone is getting these bonuses so that everyone does better. And then you want to sometimes focus on them, make sure that they're being done the correct way. There'll be sometimes where you'll be able to tell another person, hey, I hate to like interrupt your turn, but I super need you to journal, because if you journal, it'll give you some blue stuff, but it'll also just tip me over to let me put out a boat, to let me put out the boat over here. That'll let me put out another disc that will let me use that disc to be able to do this conserve action. And when I do that conserve action, I'll be able to finish off this conserve, and then theoretically all of us can move. And there's a this and this and this and this and this and this. The
Gotcha.
journal, when you start using the journal to do those things, it just,
That's what.
those are so
Yeah.
much fun.
It is it likewise. So is it the same in the cooperative or competitive game? You're thinking, boy, I really hope you do that journal thing, because if you do that journal thing, I'm going to get to do all these other things afterwards.
I've only played the competitive once. I prefer much more to play the cooperative version.
Yep.
But when I played the competitive, I wasn't that skillful enough to do that. But I'm confident that you would. Yes,
Okay. That's
because of how
that's
much I
neat.
do it when I'm playing cooperative, I'm confident you do that when you're playing competitive too.
That's cool though. I like how just changing whether you're playing cooperative or competitively changes how you have to think about that. Whether
Absolutely
you do that.
does.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, it's good fun, and I think both of them play really well. I was going to get into this more when we get to more final thoughts, but I will say both of them play really well.
Nice. Okay.
So that's journaling. The next one is conserve. So there's going to be some spaces out, and actually the game doesn't start you with any of these. But there's gonna be some spaces out with like these little. It's a turtle icon. When you in
Mhm.
conserve, these are ones that are. It's almost pure spend research to do a reward. It doesn't give you a card like journaling does. It has a similar limit in that you can't go there too many times. There's each spot gets filled up. Um, but spend some research to get some sort of bonus, whether it's other icons or stars or something cool happening on the board or leveling up your specialists or whatever it is.
Okay.
So that is conserved. So those are the 5 actions that you'll essentially have access to, and everyone will take a turn, go to one of those spaces, and keep going around. You'll continue running around until everyone has either run out of discs or run out of places to use those discs, and that will end the round. And then you'll do the upkeep and do that again. You'll do that 6 times. At the end of 6 games, in the competitive version, there's a set of goals, and you'll assess. Everyone gets points for having, well, actually, whoever is the leader of doing those goals will get a bonus points for the person who did that the best. Um, the goals themselves typically give something. So, for example, one of them is each sonar disc in certain spaces gives you points. So, sure. And then whoever has the most sonar discs gets extra points. That's a thing. So you get points for having those mission goals, and those mission goals will change over time. And then there's other. It's essentially just all the points from around the board, so like your starboard and your journals and your specialists and the tracks themselves can give you points sometimes. So those things can all give you points. So in competitive, there's a number of ways of getting different points. In cooperative, that those goals work differently. And cooperatively, instead of counting all those goals, you have 7 goals that are going to come out over the course of the game. The first are the 4 goals that are on the board. So the 3 of those are those missions that we're talking about. So, for example, one of the in the I think it's the second mission. The second mission, you want to have a whole bunch of sonar discs out. There's a listing on that board based on player count for how many sonar discs you want to have out. So with 5 players, you can have like 48 sonar discs out. If you don't hit that, then that is a failure of a goal, and you must succeed in at least 3 of the goals. In addition, there's a starboard goal. On the starboard goal, it's just a matter of points from the starboard from journalists and specialists. You have to get a certain amount of points in that. There are 3 goals that are completely random. There is a deck of goals, and each of the first 3 rounds, you'll reveal one of those goals. Those goals are sort of a smattering of other mechanics and things in the game, like you want to level up, you want to have everyone be a certain level on the different tracks. You want everyone to be joined together. You want to fully finish spaces. You want to fully diversify out. Different types of smattering of mechanics, but those add some further randomization for the replayability of the game and make it a little more unique, as well as keeping it so that not everything is public information at the start of the game. In addition, at the last 3 rounds, there's setbacks. The setbacks are evil, nasty, horrible cards that can entirely ruin your day by like just deleting things that you've done, throwing your submarines across the board, randomly shuffling around ocean boards, just horribly ruin your day, or occasionally just sometimes absolutely whiff and have no effect. But sometimes those setbacks are absolutely evil. I hate them. Um, yeah, there's 3 setbacks that'll come out, and again, 1 each round for this last one. Then it's just a matter of dealing with it. When you get up to the final goal, when you get to the final scoring in competitive, in cooperative rather, you'll look and see how many of those 7 goals you succeeded. If you manage to succeed at 3 of them, then you win the game. I will say, as I'm discussing that, I don't feel like I'm super amazing at the game. So, most of the time I've been playing this has been with my daughter and with my son, who also really enjoy the game. And usually we're playing, so technically it's a 3-player game. We'll usually play it with a 2-player listing and give ourselves half goal successes as long as we succeeded in the 2-player one, just to give us a slightly even easier, because we're already playing on easy where you have to succeed at 3. There's medium, hard, and legendary. Legendary to succeed at all 7 goals. I cannot imagine succeeding at all 7 goals. That's nuts. Succeeding at just 4 goals is already difficult for us. So yeah, secret. We play even easier than the game lets us. Don't
Hey,
tell anyone that
yeah.
we're cheating and making life easier for
Sometimes you got
ourselves.
to do it. Sometimes it's just what it takes.
But the game itself is just super fun. So we are enjoying throwing ourselves at it and exploring these ocean spaces. It's very enjoyable. So let me now talk about some of my thoughts on these different actions. The first thought I already have mentioned is about the fact that some of the things are not super thematic in that there's these icons that are moving around and allowing you to do stuff without fully understanding why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it that doing a sonar in one place suddenly expands my technology, or why is the blue track not called the technology track? It literally lets me level up my technology. Why is it not called the technology track? Those are things that just would be very frustrating. But in terms of gameplay, so you have those, there's a lot of decision points to be able to make. I mentioned that one of the big decision points is about choosing that specialist. You want to constantly be leveling up all of them, and you constantly feel
Yep.
hampered. Whichever one you didn't level up is the one that makes you feel hampered. You will constantly feel like, I don't have enough discs to activate all the things it is that I want. I don't have as good, like that guy over there, the other person across from me from the Phantom Me from last game, had a super cool level 5 specialist that did awesome fun stuff. And I'm over here piddling around with at the end of the game, I only got to level 3 and I can't do anything cool. So you constantly feel stymied by whichever track it is that you haven't managed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that can be mitigated by different decision points. For example, the travel people give you resources, but don't let you put down an extra, or don't require you put down extra discs. So it's sort of disc light. And So you have to make those balances about those things. It can also sometimes be really hard to make those decisions when you can make decisions and everything else just flows. You get those sort of things. Those feel great. Being able to do those turns and have those ideas. You're like, wait, I can see how we can do five things in a row. It's all going to come out. It's going to be super amazing. And sometimes you look at it like, well, dingbat, I managed to put myself in a situation where I'm out of actions. If I could just travel from the spot that I'm at, I can take actions. Instead, I'm stuck here. I'm out of people that let me travel, and I have like 7 discs and 4 specialists that have not done anything for me this round. And I'm just a dingbat, and I can't travel anywhere to go anywhere where these are moderately useful. So there's nothing I can do about it. And that can be frustrating. Those things in their frustration serve to highlight how good the game is in terms of that design, and that it really, really rewards intelligent play to not get yourself stuck in those situations. But it can be very frustrating to be stuck in those situations.
Yeah, it sounds like it requires a lot of planning ahead for that.
Absolutely does. And I haven't even mentioned some of the things that require even more planning ahead. Links. Some of the actions are connected by links where if you do both sides of them, you get an extra benefit. And you want those, especially when you're playing cooperative. Whoever is on both sides gets a benefit, but if only one person does it, you only get one benefit. So essentially, across the team, you maximize your benefit. You double your benefit if you manage to do it with teamwork. So it is advantageous to use that teamwork. So you're like, if you
Mm.
come here and finish off this link, we can both do this thing, which let's do this, which we can do this, and then we can link over here and do this and this. And
That sounds fun.
braining all the brain. Um, the next point I want to mention is that I do find the game difficult to do as well it is that they're expecting you to do. I've played it solo, so I don't think I'm going to whisper this again. My kids may not be as good at playing games as me. Perhaps, definitely not my son. Probably not my daughter
That
either.
that'll
It,
change. Don't worry.
that will change. Sometimes they
Enjoy
do
it.
better than me,
Yeah.
but sometimes I can definitely blame them for the fact that we didn't do as well as we could in the co-op.
What
That's
I
okay.
suggest is enjoy that for as long as you can and play more competitive games, Julius.
I don't feel any need to do so. I enjoy playing games with my children, and it's always fun and enjoyable to play with them.
Yeah.
But I will say there are some games that I've played. I'm like, the difficulty is really like we're really suffering. And then I play it solo. I'm like, never mind. I see what's going on. I'm letting my children do silly things. I get it. So I don't think that's it for this one because I've played it solo, and either it's more difficult in solo where you don't have the diversity being able to do that, or it's more difficult in because you only in beginner you only have to succeed in 4 goals. So if you're like super close in 6 goals, you've wasted a bunch of time pursuing one of the goals you didn't need to do. You should be like at 0 for 3 of the goals and 100 for 4 of the goals. If you're at 50% for 6 goals, you're playing it wrong. So maybe just when we're playing more people, it's hard to coordinate everyone on
Mhm.
those goals without having to sit and like quarterback everyone and be like, guys, stop doing that fun action you want to take over and conserving and just come over here and do the sonoring. Like, stop doing all this stuff. I don't want to play games like that. I want to play co-op games where I'm playing everyone's turn. That's no fun, which is one
Right.
reason why we just play even easier than the easy version of the game. And so I do find it really hard. And the easiest solution for me for that one is tweak the dials down and make it even easier, because we make it even easier and we have a ton of fun. And it's right on the level of where we're getting up to the game. Like, we've tried to do all these goals. Let's count it and see if we win. And then we win some. And we have successfully been like, 2/3 through the way through the game, we're like, okay, guys, we're not doing this goal. Like, don't do. We can easily do like, don't focus on at least one of them. We managed to succeed at that. So being able to tweak that dial, perhaps unofficially, does essentially completely resolve that issue for me. I just wish it were official on the rules, so I didn't feel bad every time I do it, especially when I do it and teach the game that way.
You could pen it in. That works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Um, I have a couple. Well, my thought. The game looks really nice. The art. We didn't
Yes.
really talk about the art too much, but it looks really pretty. And I've been looking at pictures on BGG, and I just realized that those deep sea boards or those ocean boards, whatever they're called, I thought they were on paper or something. That actually looks like they're punch board. Basically, they're pretty thick. So it's 37 thick boards that you have in that box.
Yeah. And it
Wow.
takes a
Okay.
ton of. I did mention it's a table hog. It's thick. The
Yeah.
box is big. It's not a small box.
It's all nice quality stuff. The seaboards, they look really pretty, and I imagine that once you've laid them all out, it has a pretty map of the ocean with all these different interesting things to look at. So it's kind of nice to just have it spread out on the table.
It's
Oh,
very pretty.
I have
The
one
different
question.
boards and the coral reefs and the turtles. All of it is very pretty. If you're the sort of person who likes watching pictures of aquatic life and things like that, very pretty.
Nice. Okay, I do have a question about the boards. As you're adding them, and you're exploring the ocean and making it bigger, do you have to go from the top down, or can you? I can't see in any picture BG, or like, can you go down the middle and then spread out to the
Um,
sides?
well, hold. That was two separate questions. You can go from the middle and out to the right and left. One of the scenarios actually requires you to do that. So that is
Okay.
legal. Um, unless you have something that lets you break that rule, you cannot make a level 3 board before you have the level 2 and the level 1 on top of it. Having said that, there are things that let you break that rule.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. It
Yeah,
looks super cool.
there's a ton of things in here that say this is the rule, except when the rule is broken.
So okay, so how about the solo game? Is it basically the cooperative game with just one player,
Yeah,
or is
it
there
is
more to it?
absolutely. It is purely the cooperative game with one player. With
Okay.
the numbers are just brought way down when you're playing solo. You see less. You have less diversity, so you theoretically you don't have any of those issues where I feel bad telling everyone absolutely do not focus on this goal. Just do this thing because it's just you. So I don't have any of those issues when you're playing solo, but otherwise it is exactly the cooperative game, and it is really fun. And I personally I prefer the cooperative game to the competitive, mostly because I don't feel bad discussing or talking out loud my turn with other people. When you're playing this game and
Mm,
everyone's sitting in their tank and being like, let me think about all the things I'm going to do on my turn, I found it a lot more stagnant and less enjoyable to be social with other people because when I hate to break it to people, I do enjoy playing games co-op with other people. I also enjoy playing solo, but when I play with other people, I do want to be interacting with them, and
mhm.
playing it cooperatively fosters that.
Yep. There's some games that even playing competitive, like what is this game called? Uh, 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 uh. Hang on a second. Where did I see it? Yeah, there's some games like even like Five Tribes that as you play that competitively towards the end, you're like everybody's trying to find the best move for each person because it's just fun to talk about and say, oh look, but if you do this and this and this, you could do really well and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just trying to see who can get the most points. It doesn't matter if it's you or someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Because yeah,
But you have
talking
to.
about it is fun.
I know some people I've played with have hated. I tend to do that also, where if I'm playing games with the people, I'll be like, "Oh, but you could do a really good move," and they're like, "I hate you, and because you told it to me, I'm not gonna do it." I'm like, "Oh, okay.
Okay.
Uh, I'm sorry."
That's odd. But okay, yeah. I mean, I kind of get that.
It's not odd. I get where they're coming from.
But yeah, yeah.
I've ruined a part of their game, which is them wanting to discover it and play their own game. I totally get it, but to get to yeah, the level of vehemence I've seen on very few, but once or twice.
Okay. So one last question is about this one. In the rules, it says your goal is to have the most beneficial effect on the world's oceans. Does it all feel? It sounds like it's an environmental game. Does it feel like it's an environmental game at all?
Yeah,
I never got that impression from it when you described it. Not really.
I mean, you're doing deep sea exploration. I mean, this is not. This is by the same people that did. Oh, what is the name of that game?
Which one? Oh, this is the Grand Gamers Guild.
Grand Gamers Guild. They had a game where you were literally trying to rescue the world for all the animals. Endeavor. Oh, that makes sense. This is Endeavor Deep Sea. Oh no, it's not. Hold it. No, that's not it. That's not it at all. What is the name of that
That's funny.
game? Endangered. There we go.
Okay.
Endangered. Endangered.
Yes.
That one is very much conservationists because you're literally trying to conserve the animals, save them from dying, and try and create new legislation to be able to rescue them permanently. There is none of that in this one. I'm maybe there's a couple tiles where I'm repopulating, and there's a couple tiles where I'm trying to recycle or clear oil spills or things like that. But for the most part, it feels more sciency than conservation. Granted,
Okay.
the game is very conservation in terms of its components and creation. It has a really cool set of Fagasi, I can't remember the name of the stuff is, but the trays were done by Game Trays, which are really nice, but they're not made out of plastic. There's no plastic in the game. Instead, it's this like rice pulp stuff. I can't remember exactly what it's
Mm-hmm.
called, but it's made with that, and it feels really nice. I really like the feel of it. It's very durable, very useful, very handy. But the game is pure wood components. They used a different type of ink that was more environmentally friendly. So it is a very environmentally friendly game in its manufacture, and I'm personally a big supporter of that.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I just picked up another game that's similar to that with just really nice components, and there's no plastic in there at all. Just it's really nice. I like that.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, this sounds like a really fun game. I kind of wish I'd picked it up when I'd seen it at the game store. And
yeah, Albert, I just can't fathom why you didn't.
thank you, Julius. Thank you, everyone, and we'll be back in a week or two.
Yep, and hopefully I haven't put too much pressure on you to buy a copy, Albert.
Bye, Julius.
Bye. Thanks for listening. We love feedback, so we love hearing from you. You can reach me at julius@oneplayerpodcast.com or JLBird on BGG, and Albert can be reached at albert@oneplayerpodcast.com or Fractalute on BGG. Our website is oneplayerpodcast.com with the number 1, and we're also on Twitter at oneplayerpodcast. The intro music is copyright Angus, can be found at jamendo.com. The transition music is copyright by Dan Elduce Pancaldi, whose page is at donpancaldi.com. The One Player Podcast is protected under a Creative Commons share-alike license. Thanks for listening.